Hey, Katerina here with Betsy again.
Hello.
Betsy joined me on the most scandalous podcast yet. It was about vaginas. But this one is probably going to take things up a notch because this one is going to be about sex.
I love that.
It was actually Betsy's idea, which this is the first time that one of my podcast guests came to me and was like, okay, I'm ready to do a podcast. Usually I have to make people do them, and I'm like, you would be good on this topic. Come do a podcast. But this one, she's like, we're ready to talk about this. And I do think it's an important topic, and it's something that we should all be talking about more. And I think that Betsy is a great person to talk about it with because Betsy does not have qualms about talking about this with me. So we're going to try not to be super crass, but maybe don't listen to the podcast in front of anyone that you wouldn't want to be in the same room with them talking about sex, because that's what we're going to talk about. So before we get on to the sex topic, I do have 2 vagina things to share.
Ooh, updates?
Yes, because
I like
a couple great people came to me after the Vagina podcast and were like, next time you do a podcast on vaginas, I have something you should share, right? Wait, actually I have 3 things. So, one is if you are getting UTIs, not UTIs, yeast infections, take yogurt and put it on your vulva. We're gonna call it the vulva because you're not putting it inside, you're putting it everywhere. Just plain regular yogurt. Apparently this is what they do in like third world countries where they don't have access to,
well, it is a probiotic.
Medicine. Yeah, exactly.
And when you're taking an antibiotic, they
instead
say
of
to eat
eating
yogurt,
it,
so you just
put it right on there. And
That's
apparently it will like heal you immediately. And this person has done it before and vouched for the method. So if you are crunchy like I am, I feel like you would appreciate trying that. There's no harm in it. You put on like a big pad, put it on at night, go to sleep. So that's one. I thought that was amazing. 2 is, I don't think I used this term specifically in the Vagina podcast, but if you're having trouble not urinating on yourself or sex is unpleasant or whatever, you might need pelvic floor therapy. And there's like physical therapy for your pelvic floor. So if you're struggling with any of your lady parts, that might be something to look into in your area, or see if your insurance covers a provider that does that. There is no shame in getting those things working correctly. Like anything else in our body, if it wasn't working right, we would go to the doctor and we'd be like, fix this. My arm doesn't work.
Great point, yeah.
Why don't we... I mean, I think that women are trained to think like, oh, you have a baby and it's just broken. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be. And now it can be really, really hard to fix it, but you can get there, and just want to encourage anyone who's struggling in that area to do the work and stick with it and heal your body. The third thing was, I read this really interesting article. I kind of talked about it in the Vagina podcast, how we talk about our lady parts as a vagina, like as a whole, we just say vagina all the time. But really the entire exterior is not your vagina, it's your vulva. And this article I was reading was talking about how important it is to use correct terminology, and it really made me feel like I need to start using the word vulva instead of vagina with my girls when I'm talking about the outside parts that they have. Because I've always...
You don't want to confuse them for the 90% of the population.
I'm like, then my daughters are going to be lecturing their friends like, that's your vulva.
I sent you an article after too, like it's online, like it was on my Instagram feed, like someone's like, oh, just so you know, it's the vulva, remember that?
Right.
So it's definitely
maybe society will move in that direction of using the correct terminology. Like we don't call the penis something that's the wrong word, it's a penis. So why do we do that to our vulva and our vagina?
I don't know.
Anyway, so there's that. Now on to the more scandalous topics. We're here to talk about sex. Now, do you have any ideas of what you wanted to get started with? Because I had some ideas, but...
No, I will say that Katerina and I, when we're having our little girl talk, we are often talking about sex, which is what made me think, I'm sure a bunch of you are too. So let's do a podcast on it. And if you're not, maybe you want to, and this will spark some energy.
I like that. Like, let's all get a little bit more comfortable talking about things. Everybody's doing it.
Exactly.
Okay? So, let's talk about it. Let's normalize some things around it.
I agree.
And also maybe empower some people to make some positive changes in their life.
All right, well, I'm interested to see where you're going to start with this because I actually had no clue.
Okay, well, I wanted to say that sex is a very interesting topic because it's not simple. It's not always super straightforward because there's so many different types of sex. And I actually was saying recently that I really appreciate something that I think is cool about the LGBTQ community becoming a little bit more I don't even know how to phrase it, but like they're not hidden like they used to be. And so now we're understanding that not all sex is like heteronormative, penetrative, girl and guy sex. Sex comes in all different forms, shapes, and sizes. And I think that like a lot of times we get caught up on the Hollywood version of sex, which we talked a little bit about in the Vagina podcast, but this like vision of a man and a woman looking at each other, then they make out for 2 seconds and then they're just like going at it. And it's like, maybe sometimes, but that's not what really good, fulfilling sex looks like. And I also think because we have this vision of what sex is supposed to look like, a lot of people are not having orgasms because they think that if the Hollywood version or the porn version of sex is not getting them there, then that's like something that's lacking in their own body. Not, well, maybe this sex doesn't serve me. Maybe it serves my partner, but it doesn't serve me, or it serves neither of us and we're just putting on a show for nobody.
I think also as a woman, like you can feel good during sex, but for a man it's very obvious when they finish, and for a woman it might not be as obvious all the time. So if you're not communicating with your partner, they might not even know, and you might even think that's it. Like maybe you haven't had like a true
and that's
orgasm.
what it is.
Right. And you're just like, okay, well that, and you're questioning like, felt good, but did it feel that good? And then once you actually have an orgasm.
Like, there you go.
Right.
Which
love it.
I think step one would be to know your own body. Because if you can't get there on your own, I don't know how somebody's supposed to get there for you.
Yeah.
Because we're complicated. So knowing your own body, but then also like if you are in a committed relationship and you want to have sex with your partner, but you haven't been able to finish, like they're the only one getting to the finish line every time, I think it's okay to guide them or have a conversation and take it a way that doesn't look like the porn or Hollywood version of sex. Like maybe some instruments need to get introduced here. Like if you're using a certain tool on your own to get there, why would you not give that tool to your partner so that you're doing that together?
And it makes it easier for them. They should be so appreciative.
Right, exactly.
I feel like too, like slowing it down. Like
absolutely.
It doesn't always, two things. One, it doesn't always have to be about the guy finishing. Like you can take your time. Like you absolutely deserve that. And two, if the guy does finish and you have not had an orgasm and you would like to, he should be willing to continue.
That's true. We need to keep working on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, oh, and I think like even I've been like thought before like, oh, the guy's finished, we're done.
Oh,
like, we're,
absolutely.
Let's clean up shop, everything's done. And it's like, no, it should be like both of you guys. It should be a, synonymous thing. Like,
yeah, it's a joint experience. So why, that's another good point, is like, I think that we've been trained a little bit to think about sex as like, okay, sex happens until the man is done and then we're done having sex. And it's like, why is that the only finale that matters? And why is it like, if I finish that, we're not done.
Right.
I'm not like,
and
okay, see you later.
If we're, wanting to and aiming to please our partners, they should also be wanting to do the same with us. And so be okay with like, it's okay to want to please your partner, but also like be able to be selfish and be like, okay, now it's my turn, or, however that looks.
I think I said it during the Vagina podcast, but men are, and just like do not come at us right now. We're talking about like men and women, and obviously there's a whole spectrum here, but to keep it simple for now, we're talking from the perspective that we know, which is as straight women, our experience. But men tend to be microwaves and women tend to be ovens. And so like a man can heat it up immediately. I mean, the second you press that start button, it is ready to go. A woman is typically, I'm not going to say never, but typically we are not a microwave. We're an oven, and there's a whole preheat process. And I will say, I think one thing that I knew a couple who did this that I thought was really smart, because they struggled with, I think they were trying to like start things too fast. And they literally set like a 30-minute timer or a 20-minute timer.
Yeah.
So like you had to,
because then you're really thinking about it, and then you're like, oh my god, I can't wait for the timer to go off.
Right. So and then you had to like be physical with each other for that whole 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it was before you get into the act. And sex was so much better for her. It like changed their entire situation, because we like it just makes a big difference if you're warmed up or not warmed up.
I like that.
Which brings up another topic.
It's like a game. Like it's like we can't.
Betsy's
really
like, I have never been introduced to this concept.
I love it.
Put a man on a timer if he has a little trouble jumping
like,
the gun.
You can't touch me until the timer goes off.
There is no penetration until this timer goes off. So I think that is a great way to help relieve a couple of the temptation of jumping the gun. If things like, because if you get started and you're like, you know what, this doesn't feel that good, it's probably a warm-up problem.
Yeah.
The other thing, speaking of warm-up, and I don't remember if I brought this up on the Vagina podcast or not, but I have this theory that just keeps being supported, that what people need to understand about most women is that when our warm-up is not the 5 minutes before sex. It is everything that you did and every way that you interacted with us since the last time we had sex.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So, because I think some couples fall into a problem where the woman is never like, quote, in the mood. And he's like, what the heck? Because men are very visual.
They can objectify things almost.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm making generalizations here. Obviously, everything could apply to everyone, but men might be a little bit easier. Like they either want it or they don't. Like they're a microwave. If it's go time, it's go time. For a woman, the mood has nothing to do. Like it's not like every time you're in the mood, it's because you looked at a man's body and you were like, that is so delicious. That is not it. It's, I think what people lose sight of is every conversation that we had, and when you were present when I was talking and you were interacting with me in a way that was like kind, when you fed my emotional, mental needs, then I physically am ready to be vulnerable with you. But a woman is going to have a much harder time being vulnerable with someone in a physical way. Now, obviously, we're talking about in long-term relationships where things like the fireworks have died and now we're like smoldering embers in the fireplace, okay? So we're not talking about the fireworks stage. We're talking about the smoldering ember stage. But like...
For rekindling.
Yes, exactly. But like, I think that with couples where they're very present with each other, they're having meaningful conversation, they're being very intentional with their relationship, and they're taking care of each other, they're gonna have, that might look like all boring or whatever, but I think they're gonna have a better sex life. Yeah. Because of that.
And we actually know people just like that. I can think of a couple in my head right now that I'm like,
they have a great sex life, and it's because they are mentally, emotionally connected.
And they're working on throughout the day on the hard things that we don't want to work on.
And they're being really good to each other and good to each other's communities, and it makes their partner want them.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm turned on just thinking about all that. You know what I mean? Like, that's great that they have that great relationship. Amazing. Yeah. But it's hard work to get there, and they've done that work and do that work.
Right. Whereas, like, if you got in a fight, or I was trying to talk to you and you wouldn't get off your phone, or you've made me feel unwanted or unappreciated all day. No, I don't want to touch you.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can completely agree.
Okay, any other thoughts
I don't think
on
so.
that? Okay,
No,
so we're gonna
that's
pull
it.
up a surprise list of questions.
Oh, we're doing that already?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think this is gonna spark more.
All right, so, oh my gosh.
Lola, you don't need to do that.
Oh, this was accidentally not about sex. The first one's about who you look up to in life. All right, let me go back to the sex
That's not what we're talking about today.
All right.
Usually we are talking about that sort of thing, but
Right.
not today. Today we're talking about relations.
Oh, these are deep questions for your best friend. All right, we have to skip the first one. I think we have to skip it because it's who was the first person you ever had sex
We're
with.
not gonna talk
still
about
we're
that.
not.
We're not naming names.
Things are getting juicy.
We're not
that
kissing
juicy.
and telling.
Oh, this one's interesting because I think it's like, okay, it's like a to me question mark. What's the best sex you've ever had? I think that's kind of like, it doesn't have to name the person, but you could say like is that too
Okay,
detailed?
I think this is how I'm gonna answer that question.
I'm like, oh
so
my gosh.
again, we're not gonna name names and list dates and stuff. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna say, I think that personally, I love to say like, it's a Mindy Kaling quote, best friend is not a person, it's a tier. And I think great sex is a tier. So like maybe there is like one specific instance where you're like, that was the best one.
I don't know if I can think of like one.
But more likely there's a tier of like, these are the times that it was the best, or person situation that it was the best with.
Yeah, I can see. Or like, I can think right now, like there's definitely someone or sometime that you've had sex with someone and like you occasionally remember back on that and think of that. And I would say those are some of the best times.
I think that those moments probably have to do a lot with like really great chemistry, because you can work on your sex life with anybody, but there are some people that you naturally have really
That's
good
true.
chemistry
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
So
like
it's chemistry.
Laughing after, laughing before. I love laughing, so yeah.
Okay, that's not what comes to mind for me at all.
I
Like,
love laughing.
we were chuckling so much before.
Like humor is just, that's like, but to me that's so sexy. I love humor.
No, I do appreciate like a good chuckle after, but like that's not part of my criteria.
You're probably reading poems. I'm over here geeking over
I'm
something.
thinking about like feeling like really, you know what I think the best times are probably when somebody is like, honoring the warm up again, like super in the moment, not trying to like rush to anything, but just like very much doing the thing in the moment as it is, and not pushing an agenda, or like they don't have like a fantasy in their head of like what they're supposed to be doing. Like they are it's two people reading each other and like paying attention.
It's almost like you're in another world.
Absolutely. Like it's just you and that person really in the moment paying attention to each other.
I think another thing for women in orgasms is like, if I don't feel like my partner truly wants that pleasure for me, then I'm not going to feel comfortable enough to be that pleasure. Does that make sense?
No.
And I think we've all been in a situation where it's like, okay, they really don't care how I feel right now. Like they're maybe in it for themselves. You're just, maybe the chemistry is not great.
Pass.
And it's like in those moments. So if you're in one of those situations, like if you, I don't know, I hate that feeling. And I think,
you know, something I've heard Betsy say before that I think would be important to say is, if you are in the act with somebody and it starts to feel like, I don't want this anymore, I don't want to be here, this isn't good for me, it is okay to stop and walk away.
Have I said that?
We just yes, we talked a little bit about relationship sex, but like let's brush on more casual encounters that people might have. I think that's a really important thing also, is if you are choosing to have more casual encounters, like if at any point
you don't owe anyone anything, like
right,
do
not
I don't
think
care
you
if
have
that
to,
man is like, I just need to finish. If you're done, bye.
Be done.
Yeah.
Be done. If it should
and
feel
that should
like you
stand
want
for
to be
like
there.
if it's casual, if you're in a
it's a
5-year relationship, like if it's not happening, you're uncomfortable, you owe no one anything. And it shouldn't feel like that. Like I don't think that if you are in a relationship and it's feeling like that, I think there's more to work on within that relationship. It really shouldn't feel like
and I think so
a chore. Sex should not feel like a chore. I mean, I think it's a reward.
I think personally, but I think the important thing with that is that I think sometimes in relationships, I think we turn down sex because we're not feeling like, oh, I want it. Like, you don't have to feel like that.
Yeah.
You can just feel like normal and be like, okay, it's been a week. Let's do it.
Yeah.
If you feel like I do not want to, like I don't want to, then you shouldn't. Like, I think it's important to pay attention when you're in a lasting relationship of like, okay, how long has it been? Because we do need to maintain that part of the relationship. And like, just because haven't been thinking about it all day doesn't mean I won't do it. But if you feel like I don't want to for an extended period of time, like, is there a chemical balance thing happen?
Yeah.
Are we not connecting? Am I not feeling safe? Because a lot of times that can be symptomatic of an emotional or chemical mental connection missing if for a prolonged period of time we're like, I don't want to. But also if you do not want to and you're like, I really hate the idea of this right now, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then with a casual encounter, even if you've gotten all the way there, it is okay to change your mind. No means no, okay?
Yeah.
No means no. And also use multiple forms of protection because a lot of us have babies.
Multiple forms.
that could be named after forms of protection that did not work on their own.
These questions I'm just reading are actually crazy.
Okay, let's...
All right, well, this one's a good one. I think this one's a great one. If you could have sex with one famous person, I know we weren't going to do names, but this doesn't count.
Okay.
Or a celebrity, who would it be?
Gosh, there's so many.
I'm going to say Anthony Kiedis because I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he also put this book out. He's had some, like, wild sex encounters, which would make me think I should be safe.
That's a really interesting.
He's just my favorite musician, and honestly, I'm not big into famous people. You know how a lot of people think famous people, they just have like celebrity crushes? I really don't. So that's probably the only person I could even think of.
I know who mine would be.
What? It's gonna be someone super smart.
Kind of.
Extremely smart.
It's so the person that first comes to mind is oh my gosh, what is his last name? It's the man who dated Kim Kardashian recently, Peter.
Oh, Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson.
I know why you want to have sex with him too.
Because he's always linked to super beautiful women, and there is a reason for that.
Well, it's come out. He has a huge penis.
Has the brains, and he is bringing it.
I don't know if he has the brains, but he's funny.
That's
the humor thing. You want to giggle before and after sex.
It's the giggling. No, but he's like,
if you're funny,
so
he's like,
he's actually supposed to be. He's a really kind human. He's a good business person. He is a goofball. Well, I kind of appreciate that. And I know everyone's like, he's just a normal looking guy. Like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he has a fine body, but he's clearly bringing it to the table.
Yeah,
because
that's a good point. That's
and then I think also if you were in the lineup, you are grouped with people like Kim Kardashian,
Ariana Grande.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing something right. That's a great point.
It would be nice to be considered part of that lineup.
These are a little bit raunchy, so we can skip any if you want.
So
they're not that bad though. What's the
edit before you read them?
What's the most times you've had sex in one day?
I have no idea. I was like probably 18 when that happened.
Really?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh,
I have children and a job.
Back to 18. I know.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Betsy, I have had children for a long time now. Like,
I don't have kids. I'm like,
I was married in 2016, and then I had my first baby in 2018.
Okay. All right.
There's no opportunity. It would have been like back in college. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna say mine was probably like last year. Probably like 5 or 6 times.
Our life is so different.
Okay.
Also, just for the record, I also think different people have preferences. Like, I think some people want to do it so many times in a day. I would really rather just have a really long session than
That's
5.
What I'm
I don't want to do it
counts.
5 times. I would like, I
mean, that counts, I feel like.
Because I could
How
go.
do you not end up counting that multiple times? That was my question. Like, he's lasting 5 hours? That's impressive.
Okay, but no one has 5 hours around here. I get my kids back in 4.
You said one really long session. I'm thinking 5 hours.
No. I'm thinking like a couple hours.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still a really long time for a guy to last.
Yes, it is.
It's impressive.
It is impressive.
Okay. have you ever had really bad sex? I think we all know the answer.
For sure.
Definitely.
I think...
Like, I'm like, did anyone have a good first experience?
Actually, my first experience was not negative, and I think it was because my first real boyfriend and I, now he turned out to be a complete POS for the record. He's a terrible person. I hope he is listening.
I hope.
I'm just kidding. I don't want him to think I'm talking to him.
This could go viral.
But great. That's what I mean. I'm not talking to him, okay? And he is a POS, and I do never want to speak to him again.
Wow.
But at the time, y'all have to tell you about it later.
Yeah.
But at the time, we were very much in love. We were like 17, and we were completely in love. And I was very confident because I was super cute. So there was no like insecurity or inhibition or weirdness. And so it was fine. It was really fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're different. Like you've definitely had more passionate relationships. Like I've definitely had more like, but I'm very spontaneous. I almost got a tattoo before work yesterday, and I was like, "That's
Thank you for not."
I've never gotten a tattoo, and I was like, "Okay, this feels a little sporadic." The guy, I only had 15 minutes, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I can do it in 15 minutes."
Promise me if you're gonna get a tattoo that I can be there, and that will help. Like
I knew. I was like, I was so excited. I was like, "This would be so funny." Like 15 minutes, and I was like, "That's not a healthy choice." So that might speak to those. Sometimes I've had more sporadic sex. I think that's.
Would you say that the better sex though is when it is like a long-term lasting, like we've had time to work on it, right? Okay.
Yeah. I still don't think like but I still am like more of like I'll have a partner, and it won't necessarily be like a relationship. Like in college, for a year and a half, I had sex with the same guy, but we weren't in a relationship. So like we got to know each other, obviously, but it was still
makes it better.
Less emotional, but I don't mind that as much.
No, and that's fine.
But
I do think people have the wrong idea in their head that if you're out there having casual sex, that it's all amazing. Oh, we're gonna invite the baby into the podcast while we talk about sex. Yeah,
she's like, normal. And that's how I was made.
Hi, that's how all of us were made. That's why there's no shame.
Bye. Hi, Mama.
Oh dear. Okay, well, I hope they don't wake the dog up. Okay, the mosquito people are here, so are you looking at Betsy?
Hi, sweetie.
But I think that people sometimes get in their head that, like, they're in a relationship, but they think people out there having casual sex are having, like, the most amazing. It's like, that's not.
Yeah.
Joe Schmo, who you don't really know, is not going to throw it down the way that you like it. Thank you.
Okay.
Necessarily.
Oh, I think this one's a good one. And I honestly, I actually hate this question though, so.
Okay. Salem's for sure gonna blow raspberries for the rest of the podcast.
For sure. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
What's your favorite position? And the reason I don't like this question is because it's so vanilla. It's so like, I think it's even degrading.
This is what I would, what I would say about positions though? I think that like, if you do have a partner that you're doing it over time with, I feel like you go through different seasons of different types of sex.
Totally. You're like, oh my god, that one hit great. Like, let's do that again.
Right. You tend to like fall into
it's not like I totally don't have one favorite position, and I'm glad because that means I can enjoy multiple positions. Okay. How old were you when you masturbated for the first time?
Oh, I don't know. Probably.
I think I was in 8th grade.
I think mine was probably before that.
Really? Yeah. That's so impressive.
I feel like it was.
My friend literally told me about it.
I don't really have a vivid memory.
I was like obsessed after that. I mean, not obsessed.
Oh, the dog is about to freak out. Lola, you're fine. See? That's great. Okay. That's wonderful. Okay, Lola, go over there. Go.
Come in here.
Go. Lola, go. Sorry. That probably just deafened somebody. I do think though, I wish somebody had explained it to me, because I think it took me a while. Like obviously I think I did it pretty young, but I think it took more practice than necessary, and I didn't really understand it. And I do think that we should be educating, honestly, like I think we should be educating preteens about what that is and what your options are.
Because you feel like almost like, I even think like, honestly to this day, like, you know how guys will say, oh, like, I played with myself. Like, I don't think women talk about that. And I think it's more like shameful in a way.
And it goes back to, if you haven't explored your own body and you don't even know how to get yourself there, how is somebody else? Or when you are,
and you don't even want to experience it with men for the first time. You want to like be able to feel comfortable with yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, you might not get the full pleasure from the male.
And I think when you are in the act, if you figured it out on your own, you're going to know how to position yourself and what angle you need to be at and all this stuff to be something that you like. And
you'll know what to expect. So you're not having, which I'm sure we've all done in the beginning, like you're not having bad sex for a little bit because you're not getting what you need.
Right.
So you don't even know it exists yet.
You know if it's good or not.
All right. Next one. I know the answer to this for you. Do you think intercourse is better when you love the other person?
For sure.
Okay.
I think it's like a safety thing.
Let's see. This would be really funny. What's your most embarrassing experience in the bedroom? Should we go there?
Embarrassing?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I've gotten some injuries before.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I have scars.
I have a good story about that. You have, oh my God, scars. Did you have to go to the ER? What do you mean scars?
It goes back to when I was like 18.
You did a lot when you were 18. Wow. I'm glad we weren't friends then because we've done a lot.
I didn't party like drugs and alcohol before I went to college. It was just sex.
Okay.
That was the
I'm
only
picturing
thing
like
that I was bad.
he bent you over a wrought iron fence and like rods went through.
No,
like,
I was like
the worst.
I think I was on top, so my feet were, and we were outside, and so my feet were like on the ground, and they like rubbed the tops of them, and it caused like an injury on my foot, and I have a scar.
Oh my God.
Or two.
Wow. When I was in high school, my ex had his ACL torn, and he like, I think my parents were probably coming upstairs or something, and he went to like jump off and re-tore his ACL.
Oh.
He didn't, honestly, luckily he didn't know it in the moment, but like within like a day he like traced it back to like, he's like, yeah, remember when like this popped? And I'm like, oh my God. So he had to get surgery, and that kind of sucks.
Horrible.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, you know what this makes me think of? Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you started having sex, did you make noises while you were having sex from the beginning? Or is that something that evolved over time?
If I can honestly say, if I did in the beginning, it had to have been fake. Like, it had to do it. I probably was like, you're supposed to say their name. Like, there's no way that I could have.
I was not comfortable enough
I've gone through phases too.
That makes sense though.
Like I remember sometimes like being loud. Like now it's just whatever. Like now it's just.
I am not putting an act on in any capacity for anybody. You either earned it or you didn't. But I think in the beginning, like I held it in because I don't think
I definitely think once I started realizing that like I like to be louder, that I was like would question maybe like, do you like it loud? Like now I'm like, if you don't, sorry,
I'm not your good time.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Do you like dirty talk?
No.
Really? Oh my God, I could have a full conversation.
I'm sure Betsy let's have a conversation.
Sometimes, and this is an issue, I'm so ADHD that I actually have had partners that like have an issue with it because I can like...
You could go off on a rabbit trail?
No, not like talking, but I can just kind of like pull out of the mood for a second. And that can be like a turn off to them.
I will say I have to keep my brain, because my brain, I will be in the act and my brain is like, let's think about our to-do list. And I'm like, ooh, you do, as a woman, we have the ability to do that. And you do need to not bring yourself back to the moment and try and be in the moment, because you're ruining it for yourself. Yeah, they don't know.
They get offended. You know. They get offended. They're like, oh, she's totally not enjoying it.
Don't stop in the middle and be like, did you get milk at the store? But
one thing I do love, and I know that you have said you like too, is like, I literally love analyzing everything after. Like, I want to be like, did you like this?
Oh, I think about it.
How did it feel? And I've had partners who are like, of course I liked it. Could you not tell? And I'm like, but I just want to hear. Oh, I think it's a reassurance thing. And I love talking about it. I love knowing like, what were your exact thoughts during XYZ? Like what, like, or like, you know, if you've tried something new or like something just felt better than normal, you want them to know.
I don't dislike that. I don't dislike that at all. I think the
And it just makes me
problem
happy.
with dirty talk probably stems from like some past trauma or something, where I think someone was projecting their fantasy onto me, and I was not I wasn't ready to be a part of that.
Right.
And so it's not that I have a problem with it, but I think I would feel nervous about it because I don't want you to get caught up in some fantasy or like start going down a path with it where like I'm not with you and I'm not comfortable with it, and like I'm like, oh, now I have to shut this down.
And then like if you're talking like in that like about something that you're like, is this real, is this not real, like I know they were saying this, like I more mean like dirty talk, like okay, we're saying things we both like, but if you're taking it to another level, like some fantasy that's making your partner question.
I think I love the physical, like there is something really cool about being able to read somebody without talking. I do think people should talk about it.
That is cool.
Especially because not everybody can just read another person. But I think if someone can read you physically without talking about it, and they can figure you out like just by you guys slowly reacting to each other, there's something very sexy about that. So like noises, yes. Dirty talk, tread with caution.
Guys are quieter too. I think more guys should be like, I like.
Yeah, if you're a man listening, let it out.
Yeah.
Like
it's so sexy, I think.
Like I at least would like a little affirmation.
This one's a little wild. All right, hold on.
Careful.
Oh, I know. What would you say is, well, we've kind of already covered this. What would you say is a turn off in the bedroom? Obviously not preheating the oven.
Yeah, you gotta preheat. I mean, I could make out with you for an hour. I could just make out. There is no. Yeah, see, I because I think like there's so much in the. So for me,
that's why we'd have to set the timer.
Like yeah.
Oh,
tell us, Salem. Like obviously, the finishing is important. Okay, but for me, and if we can't get there, we're gonna have a problem. Okay, but it's the whole experience leading up to it. So like I could just like kiss for forever before we even like take a piece of clothing off. What was the question? It was what would you say is a turn off? Oh, but a turn off? Yeah. Going too fast, like just going for it when it's like, oh, what? You have just like jumped the gun on this.
Them prioritizing themselves.
Or like if you've pissed me off beforehand, or
if
I don't feel safe in any, it's not happening.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this one I think is a little wild. What's the most adventurous thing you've done in the bedroom? You don't have to answer.
I'm trying to. There's no way.
All right, this one's kind of funny. Have you ever, you can use your imagination for that one. If we don't want to answer, obviously it's because we're wild. I'm just kidding. Have you ever called your current partner your ex's name during intimacy? No,
absolutely not.
How does that even happen? Like if you're that,
you need to go back to that ex.
Like that is like you would have. It's just, how does that even happen?
Like I said, I'm not talking too much anyway.
Yeah,
so
no,
that's not.
You're lucky if I say your name.
Also,
if
it's an ex, I am not on them. I am on you.
Oh my gosh, exactly. Okay. Oh, I like this one. At what age did you lose your virginity?
17, which apparently is the average age to lose your virginity. So I felt really not special when I read that, because I was like,
did you think you were young or old?
I don't know what I thought, but I was like, okay, I'm just like every other girl in America. That's cool. What about
I
you?
was 15.
But I think because I had told you, I was like, I think the first time I made out with a guy I was 14.
Yeah, mine was like very close. It was like.
So you just like skipped ahead.
I don't know. I think it was after 6th grade, maybe after 7th.
You know what though? I was raised in a religious community. And I was definitely taught that like you lose some value once you have sex. So it was a very big deal for me, which I don't like that. You are not less valuable because you've had sex. So if you're a young woman who has not had sex or has and feels less valuable, that is bullshit.
So I have a few things. One, I was talking to someone recently who was talking to their kid who's like, I don't know, 17. They were saying like, once they were basically talking to their child about sex, saying like, you can come to me, you can come to my sisters, stuff like that. But I do not recall ever speaking at all with my parents about sex ever.
No,
in fact, I was so uneducated that prior to having sex, we were at the family dinner table and I was like, so when do you get tested for STDs? Like I just said it. My dad about dropped his fork, but I didn't know. I just didn't even.
I could see you just.
I thought you just got tested randomly. I didn't even know like
that was like a normal procedure.
You had to have sex to contract one. How it got contracted, I still feel a little confused. Like I still get a little scared of toilet seats sometimes, but it's just so we had one class on sex in gym for like 30 minutes,
and mine was
like,
more of like a celibacy class. It was like don't have sex.
You don't,
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just so I never discussed it with my parents. They were never like, we know you're gonna have it one day, come to us when you do. Not that I would have.
My mom had like explained what sex was, but then that was it, and I absolutely could not have gone to her about having sex because when she thought I was having sex, she freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
She did not handle it well. Love you, Mom. But no, my parents did not.
I can't say mine would have been excited. I mean, I can't.
Oh, mine were. I'm pretty sure they had an idea.
One thing I love doing
pissed.
is like sorry, my aunt's not listening, but my cousin, she's like, I don't know, 17. Anyone of that age, like if I know you and you have kids that age, I'm like, they're definitely having sex, and my aunt will be like, no, they're not. She'll just like freak out.
Okay.
I don't know that she is or anything, but I think that
also along those lines, if you
and you're
have
naive
kids,
if you think that they're not.
Take your freaking teenagers to go get on birth control.
Yes.
Okay?
Why are we so against birth control?
Well, people think that they're like giving their teenagers permission to have sex. Like teenagers are dumb. They're gonna have sex anyway.
If you think that your child is special and they're not thinking of it like every other teenager, you're wrong.
Hormones are raging, and they are going to do it regardless of whether or not they're on birth control. They think they're invincible. Okay, they are. It is a miracle, and for real, thank you, Jesus, that I did not get knocked up before I got put on birth control. Because holy moly, I was dumb.
People who I think there's people who say that they have period issues so they can get on it, but then I think there's when you're younger and your parents won't let you. But then I think there's actually people who have issues that it helps, and it's like just let your kid get on it. Like
take them to the lady doctor, and also
once they're 18, they can sign up anyway. I did that when I was in high school. I was like, I'm gonna go get it. Yeah,
good job. And if you have ever had sex, you need to be seeing an OBGYN every single year, please, and let them test you for chlamydia and stuff, please.
You can't trust. I mean,
you can't trust a man.
Yeah,
that's a different podcast.
Because even if you can trust that person, you don't know who they're sleeping with and who that person's sleeping with. You just need to get tested. Okay. Oh, this one's hilarious. Do you ever leave the house without wearing underwear? 5 years.
Every day.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not wearing any right now.
I actually the other day opened a drawer that had underwear and I was like, should I clean this out? Like,
my underwear lives like in the. Wow, that's really obnoxious and loud. My underwear lives like in the back of the drawer because I like to wear boxer briefs. So if I'm wearing like a short dress or something to somewhere where it would be very inappropriate. I guess anywhere would be inappropriate. It
just depends on the mood for that one. Like I'm like, am I going to be bending over? Could the wind blow?
Right. Then I will wear.
Am I willing to risk it?
I'll wear boxer briefs, and then I have like the laser cut thongs for when it's absolutely necessary.
What would you say is absolutely necessary?
Maybe it's like. I can't even think of a time. I'm
just wondering.
I actually just maybe that's what I would wear. If I thought
like you're going to the doctors and they're gonna be like take everything off, but
I don't give. I've had 3 babies. I will just get naked right in front of them. I do not care. She like comes in the the gown's not even tied shut.
We're only on 17. I think we have like 175.
Okay, well we only have time for a couple more, so pick some good ones.
Have you ever slept with someone who later told you they regretted it?
No,
exactly.
A man is never gonna say that to you. Ever.
If they do, they are having some emotional trauma going on.
They're being rude on purpose.
Yeah.
You're not the problem. Also, on that note, do not be insecure. If you're a woman and a man and you want to be intimate with your partner, he likes your body, okay? Men sleep with people they think are attractive.
Yeah.
Don't be insecure about your body.
Oh, this one's great. God, I'm so jealous of this one. I wonder if you even know what it means. Have you ever joined the Mile High Club?
I have not.
You know what it means.
I wanted to start a business. I wanted to buy a plane and people could pay to join the Mile High Club. But I have business ideas all the time.
Yeah, but that's one of your better ones because I would benefit from being on the plane.
Thank you. Yeah, so.
I will say that
of course not. Where in the plane?
I have not, but one of my exes did, and that really made me jealous. Like, so, this person was not very sexual, and I was like, and yet you had sex on a plane and I haven't. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever been a friend with benefits? Yes.
For sure.
Oh, I didn't know you were gonna
I
say
mean,
that
not
today.
prolonged. Here's the thing about me, because I'm an extreme person. I'm either like really sold on you or I'm not. You're gonna get like 1 or 2 shots, and then it's either like I'm like, you're the only one for me right now, or I'm like, moving on, next, not you.
You are more like that. I definitely could have like a couple partners at once. Like if I wasn't in a committed relationship, and like
I think I'm like
not at the same time, but you get what I'm saying.
I just know there's
One
some
day,
great
one the
stuff
next.
out there, and if it's not great, like I'm not gonna waste my time.
Maybe that's
on
the
it.
issue. Yeah,
I'm
with
like,
me.
Blow my mind.
Where's the craziest place you had sex? Oh, I made this one up. This wasn't even on the list.
Okay, either in a river, or in the James River, or
Hopefully the bacteria wasn't high then. Where that
maybe like in the like, so this goes back to being like 17, 18 and needing to have sex but not having a place to have it. I was probably like parked somewhere public that was like public property.
Okay, yeah. I think we've all done that one.
A million times.
Yeah,
Because there was nowhere safe to
honestly,
have
that
sex.
probably is when you're most creative, when you don't have a safe place to have sex.
Right.
I would say Hollywood Cemetery downtown.
Nice. That's a good one.
Sorry to whoever's gravestone.
That was a blessing.
That was in broad daylight.
Broad daylight?
I don't know how it happened.
End up on the news.
Or like a restaurant, you know, like a bathroom, not like at the booth. But
I don't think I've ever done that.
really,
No.
we should go out more.
No, I'm an old lady.
Okay.
I prefer the comfort of my bedroom or a couch.
Yeah, I
Or
definitely don't
the
have to
shower.
be in public. Like, it's not a fantasy. I know some people fantasize
No,
about
that's
that.
annoying.
I actually don't fantasize about getting caught because I don't want to be a sex offender.
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
rest of my
I
life.
don't
That
wanna
is
get
my
caught.
biggest fear.
I'm a full-grown woman who has my own space, and also like I want to be able to have really good sex. And if the place is like too imagination friendly, you're not, because you're like, how do I get?
Actually, one time I did have sex on Canal Street in New Orleans, and later I was talking to someone about it. This isn't one of my prouder stories, even though I'm telling it. They were like, you could have been a public sex offender, and that really stuck with me. And I was like, oh my god,
Not doing that
ever again. Yeah, so be careful. If you think it's sexy, think about the consequences.
There's
Sorry,
so
it's
many
not.
things like that.
Yeah.
You might think you don't want an IUD, but guess what you get if you don't have one?
Does size really matter?
Oh, we have got to talk about this before the podcast is over. Okay, I forgot to bring this up, and this was one of my points I wanted to make. Okay, this is what I'm going to say, and then you can, like, tell me what you think, okay?
It's going to be another 30 minutes on this
So,
topic.
yeah, oh gosh. Okay, we're going to try and make this not more than 5 more minutes, okay? I don't want to go over an hour with the podcast, but this is a really good one. We might have to have a Sex 2.0 episode. We'll see how people might hate this one, and then we're like, okay,
we'll
we
see
won't.
We'll
Community, let us know. Leave us a review.
If my career
message
ends
us.
from this, we're done.
Yeah, if you hate this, if we're being too honest, tell us.
Yeah, we don't want to offend.
We won't ever talk about it again. But if you like it, we will talk about it again because we do. Okay,
Yeah, we love it.
this topic, does size matter? Yes, 100% size matters. Wait, don't get upset. It matters both directions. Different, all vaginas, and I'm using that term anatomically correctly here, are different. When a woman is aroused, her vagina changes shape inside of her. Okay?
I actually learned this the other day too.
It's fascinating. So different vaginas actually are more suited for different size penises. Okay? So that's one. They're all different shapes and sizes when the woman's aroused. It expands, contracts certain places, it's all over the place. So some vaginas are better suited for larger penises and some are better suited for smaller. But here's the other factor to that. Your cervix that is at the back of your vagina, some people, when you hit the cervix, they don't feel anything, doesn't mean anything to them. Some of them, it hurts and they're like, don't touch it. Some of them love it.
Some of them bleed.
Oh, you also can make somebody bleed.
That can happen.
Especially for pregnant.
And I've like really researched into it because I was like, why am I bleeding?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's when you know it's good. But
that's the good stuff.
But it can also be problematic.
Or it could be bad.
Yeah.
So some people, it actually, like, it's just the way your anatomy is and the way your nerve endings, like, our bodies are just a garden of nerve endings, okay?
And
so there's no shame.
If you like play with yourself, you can kind of feel how your vagina changes, like how you're feeling, depending on how you're feeling when you're aroused.
But
when you
some
orgasm.
people,
and it's really interesting.
You're gonna feel good if something is hitting your cervix, and some people you're not gonna like it. So if you don't like it, you need to be sleeping with someone that does not have a very big, congratulations.
You get 98% of the
98% of men have normal penises, and they will be fine for you, okay?
If you're looking for that 2%, cheers.
There's not many.
Yeah.
Like, so to say to the men, it does matter, but for a lot of women, they don't want it to be very big. And then for some women, they specifically, it's a whole nother experience in a good way. Okay, so size does matter. All vaginas are built differently, and they have orgasms different ways, and different things feel good.
Yeah.
So certain penises
and
are going to be
this is where
better
toys
fit.
can also come into, if you've decided that you like something larger and your partner doesn't have that and you really love your partner, you can also bring in other things that'll make you happy.
Absolutely. You don't have to stay vanilla.
And guys, don't be scared. I actually saw this comment the other day. Someone said, oh, well, if you play with that, like, you're not going to want me. Like, no,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous. There's really, it's, oh, Lola.
Hey, girly pop.
She's like, oh my gosh, the mosquito people were here. I couldn't even go out and yell at them. No, that's a great point.
Yeah, we both have the same size interest, which is fun. We talk about it all the time.
We have similar preferences, but different people, and like some people apparently like the way, I'm gonna try and say this in a way that's not super crass, the inner wall of the vagina behind your okay, you are right in the camera and it's only focusing on your face, Lola. The camera's like just Lola. If you want to see it on YouTube, you can see Lola. But the wall between your main, dear heavens, Lola, the pleasure part of your vulva, behind it, the wall is either going to be thicker or thinner. And if it is thicker, you need more external stimulation. And if it is thinner, you can go with more internal stimulation. So it just goes back to all vaginas are built differently. All of these things, it just depends on who you are and your anatomy. And so not the same thing works for every single person. Different people like different things, and that's okay. And so just because you had an ex that liked it one way doesn't mean that someone else is gonna like it that way. And also, again, that is why size matters.
Look at how happy
like,
she
oh,
is.
Betsy, hi. Okay, any other thoughts, Betsy?
No, I mean, I could do more questions. Maybe we should just do a question one, but not
unless
this
we
episode.
hear from you that you hated this and it was too much information, which I don't really believe in.
I think people want to know more, and I could explain more in detail, but on another episode, we're gonna see how we're gonna test the waters.
We are testing the waters here.
We don't want
to see if this is helpful at all, or if we have traumatized everyone. And as the American that you are, you would like us to stop talking about sex and pretend like nobody's doing it.
And hopefully you would have turned this off an hour ago if that was the case.
You know what? We can always have some hate fans. That's fine too.
I love that. That's when we've made it.
That's when we'll know it's real. So let us know more, less, or the same. But this was a getting into a topic that we think is important, that people should be talking about. There is no shame. This is a basic biological thing that we are all doing. Well, that's not true. That some people are doing and some people are enjoying it. Some are not.
Cheers.
Thanks. Oh, don't forget to leave a review. Mostly if you enjoyed the podcast. If you didn't enjoy it, keep your review to yourself. Thanks, friends.